don't want to go all the way down because you want to have open here for being able to, you want to have space here. So I'm going to put a base bottom fan in here. It's going to go down. Oh my gosh, stop. I'm fighting with the camera now. Okay. Let's go. Nope, that's not going to do it. There you go. Now I found my hands. Ah, found it. All right. So there's going to be a fan here eventually. I'm going to put a fan in here. But also you want to have space to have cables come in and out. So you want to have a little bit of space on the risers, the levelers. So I'm not going to go all the way down. But I don't want it to be like way high. It's already going to be a pretty high rack. Also, if you're putting it in a basement like I am, the other thing you want to take into account is you want to have some height to keep it off the ground in case of water. We do occasionally get water in our basement. We've never had it become very high, but that's because we have alarms and things of that nature, so we can address it quickly. However, you never know. Something could happen when we're not home. So it's always good to have a little bit of insurance in the case of here. And you've got the extra, so once I get it into place, I'm probably going to adjust it and see how it lays in the space, and once I get the equipment into it, I might raise this up a little bit more. I just want it to be too tall. There's a reason why I got a 27U and not a full 42, which would be a full-size server rack. First off, it'd be too high, it would be taller than my ceiling, but also, I don't want it to be floor to ceiling. Well, it's not what I'm doing this for. This is not a data center. This is not a business. This is a home. And it's just a place for me to store my various electronic toys. Count the exact number of threads yet, because it's going to be more about putting a spirit level on it later when I get into the space and get it spirit leveled to that. So it doesn't matter what they're at right now. And also there's going to be imperfections in the floor, so it's going to be more about taking out the wobble, making it nice and solid, right, and steady. Secure. In this particular case, this threading is a little bit less consistent, so I'm hitting a few snags, so I'm glad I'm doing this now before I'm trying to slide it into the bottom of the rack. I think I'm going to be using the hand track a lot more instead of the upper body track. Now that I'm figuring out this camera. Although that might be a little bit too low. Follow my hand, thank you. There we go. Just needed to make sure that it was following it. And down here. Thank you. And then sometimes they're really simple and they don't snag on anything, like this one. Hooray! And there we go. Stand it back up. So annoying. Stabilized. And now we're going to do the lock on the door. also going to drive me nuts, that rattle. So that's going to be getting a rubber coating on it. Not too far down the line. Up here. Come here. There's my hand. Follow it up. Eyes up here. I'm not sitting on the floor. It's probably better to be on the upper body mode. Anyway. And just figuring it out, right? Okay. I'm going to do normal tracking. Okay. And so now we've got a number of pieces here. Okay, so you've got, first off, you've got this little ring here. Now I'm going to switch back to hand. That is not hand. Okay, so you've got this little ring that you can take off the lock here, right? And that'll rotate around. And what you want, that's going to be your stopper so that when you open this up, right, when you're turning the lock, let me just turn it here. Come on. It's a two-part system here. Come on. There you go. When you do it and you turn the handle, it'll stop it, so you can't just turn it all the way around. Okay, so that's going to be an important element that you want to make sure that you capture when you're doing it. Now, this is also how you can adjust it if you want it to open to the left. Come on. Right, if you want to open it to the left, if you want it to turn this way, you just change the positioning of that bar. Right, so here's left turn and handle. And here's right turn and handle. So it's all your personal preference on what you would like. So if I'm popping that out, does it make sense to go that way or that way? I think it's going to make sense for me to go to the right. And just make sure that you're being consistent with it when you put the lock on, that it's turning the right direction. Okay? there are bushings I have to put in that'll make it quieter. Good. So another thing with these multi-part screwdrivers, a lot of people don't realize this. It's a weird thing, people don't realize it. But did you know that this is not just a neat thing for being able to hold the shape of the screwdriver? These are actually nut drivers too. Assuming you get the right size. It's between two sizes, isn't it? That is most unfortunate. That's okay. I'm using the screwdrivers anyway, and my south wire is more accurate for this. Swing and miss. That is an odd size nut for that. Just going to make sure that it rotates the right way. I'm going to take the door off. I'm going to put the bushings in. That a little bit quieter anyway. insert the plastic bushings into the hinge holes at the top and bottom. Thick bushing bottom. Holding the door, insert the lower spring-loaded hinge latch into the plastic bushing at the bottom. Pull down the upper spring-loaded hinge and release it after inserting to the top plastic bushing. Okay. Carefully tap this so as not to wake up the house. Carefully squeeze that up into there to be able to get the door in. While trying to not mar the paint. So I don't need to worry about doing the rubber tipping. Okay, and then there are washers that you can use to level the door because it is a little bit screwy but not horrible. But it is hanging just a touch. But that's good. Okay, now for tonight, since it did come with it, we're not going to put the shelves in, but I am going to put the power supply in. Now, we're going to go into an age-old debate here that I know people are very opinionated about. There we go. Oh my goodness, camera, really? Okay. This is technically up. You can tell. Oh my gosh, camera. Oh my gosh, I'm making everybody seasick. You can tell because that's the writing, and also you have the power switch up to turn on. Supposedly, the correct way to do a 3-prong outlet is to have the ground up. So, I've never agreed with that. I always want the ground to be the last thing to go if it falls out. But it's because if a plug starts to fall out, the ground is on the top if something falls down on it, versus if it was right side up, which is the way most people prefer it. A, because it looks like a face, but also B, people prefer it too because the ground is lasting and fall out. But if something metal falls down and that plug is falling out, it could close the circuit, start a fire. So that's the rationale. Age-old debate, like I said, but it's what it is. Initially, I am going to probably put this near the top, but one of the things I usually like to do is I usually like to have it a little bit further down to be more central and not have to have longer runs of power cables later on. So I might actually put this initially here at well, it's a 27U, so I might eat it up right in the middle. And do slot 14. So that's 13 above, 13 below. I'll probably move it up because I did get also, eventually I'll be getting a 4U slide out drawer that I'll probably be putting down towards the bottom, but not yet. Here's one of the things I've never understood when you get into racks like this. First off, when you put the fans in the top, let me just take this out here a little bit. Why, unless you're dealing with tailed outlets, or you're dealing with rear-facing outlets, why do they put standard plugs? So even if you do some good wire management, you still got this big old honking thing sticking out the front that's going to have to bend back. Sometimes it has to bend back when it closes, sometimes it doesn't. But why do that when you can do a right angle plug? I've never understood why they don't do more right angle plugs. Now I did get a set of plugs that are pretty cool that you can adjust, where you can actually rotate the plug head to the angle that you want it to be for right angle, which is really neat and really helpful for these types of applications to keep things clean. So either way, I will eventually do some cable cleanup on this, get this over here. I'm going to be putting in some trough clips, etc. And then I'll put the ears on that network rack. We'll get that in there. And then I got this pack now. I've got tons of zip ties, so I'm not really worried about that. But some of this wire management, these types of quick clips and umbilicals, are incredibly valuable in a kit like this. You've got a ton of these with 3M strips and everything else. A lot of really useful tools in a very inexpensive kit for people that really are obsessed, like I am, with wire management, with getting everything crisp and clean, because it also helps the airflow better and helps the system perform better, or the server perform better. It's just spend the money to get and do it right, instead of like all sorts of different, wonky type things, especially people that like, I used to be one of these people that did like electrical tape to do wire cleanup. Oh my god, camera, stop. I'm right here, thank you, chill. But yeah, when you're doing that kind of wire management and everything else, do it right. It's not expensive. It used to be a little bit more expensive, now it's not. Don't do bread ties and electrical tape and everything else. Do it right. You'll thank me later. But that's it for now. So that does it for this build for now, and then we'll start populating it, and I'll give you guys an update on where that's at as we go further down. But it is a nice looking rack. I'm going to turn off the tracking. We're going to go over here and just take a good old look at this guy. So this is the Sysrax 27U rack. Comes with 2 shelves. I have not put them in yet because I still have to do some of the layout, but it does come with the system fan, or the top fan, and it comes with that surge protector there as well. So really nice looking rack. It's got a lot of good security, but also I really liked this. In it, not only was it cheaper, but I really chose and I really liked the idea of the mesh sides to maximize airflow. Now that could also maximize dust flow, but I mean, overall, I think this was one heck of a good purchase, good deal and everything else. That Sysrax logo was slightly off skew. I'm going to get my heat gun and heat it up just enough to get that a little bit so I can bump that up, because that side's a little low. And that's not, I'm not saying that just because the door is a little off kilter. I think it's actually mounted, just looking at the top of the honeycomb on either side, it's slightly off. But overall, good purchase, good rack. This is going to be very helpful for me for getting the equipment safer, less likely to be knocked off shelves, and also get better airflow and help it perform better. So that's going to do it for tonight. Thank you so much for hanging in there. It is super late, but I appreciate you. And we're going to call it a night. We'll be back on tomorrow night where we'll do some more Satisfactory. But that's going to be it for tonight. I am Creative Constructs. Thank you so much for joining, and I will see you on the next creation. Have a great one.